Tonight, supreme conflict, highlighting the abortion divide. The nation's highest court upholds a Texas law banning abortions once a heartbeat is detected in the womb. Plus, left behind.
People are dying right now, and many more will die.
The work to rescue those still stranded in Afghanistan. And Ida's wrath.
Look at that tornado!
The storm tearing northward with flooding and casualties in its devastating wake. All this and more tonight on Faith Nation.
Washington weighs in on the Texas abortion ban. Good evening, I'm Jenna Browder.
And I'm John Jessup. Welcome to Faith Nation. Tonight, Speaker Nancy Pelosi is promising a vote on an abortion rights bill when House lawmakers return to Washington in a couple of weeks. It is the latest in the fallout after a Supreme Court overnight ruling that essentially makes abortion 6 weeks into pregnancy a crime in the state of Texas.
Still, the law faces many legal challenges ahead. For more on what this decision means and the nationwide reaction to it, we are joined by Capitol Hill correspondent Abigail Robertson. Abigail.
That's right, Jenna. Abortion advocates went to the court with an emergency appeal on Wednesday, trying to stop the law from taking effect. But the justices ruled 5-4 to deny it. As you said, paving the way for many more legal challenges to come.
The impact is that hundreds of unborn children across Texas are protected starting yesterday and ongoing until the litigation reaches a resolution.
Mallory Quigley from the Susan B. Anthony list tells CBN News all eyes are now on how the court will rule next summer on the Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health Organization case.
At issue there is a 15-week abortion limit that was passed in the state of Mississippi, but the court has specifically said that they're going to address the question of whether or not pre-viability bans on abortion and Texas's heartbeat law fits that description, is they're going to address the constitutionality of that.
Quigley says the court's majority ruling this week could be a sign of another pro-life victory to come in the Dobbs case.
Hopefully, that they'll continue to rule in a way that takes the handcuffs off the states and allows them to pass and enact and enforce laws that are reflective of the values of the people that live in these individual states.
The majority's opinion made a point in saying this order is not based on any conclusion about the constitutionality of Texas's law and in no way limits other procedurally proper challenges. Justice Sonia Sotomayor called the order stunning in her dissent, writing that last night the court silently acquiesced in a state's enactment of a law that flouts nearly 50 years of federal precedents. As of today, most abortions are banned in Texas, and private citizens can sue anyone who helps someone facilitate an illegal abortion. While pro-life advocates celebrate the new law, the White House says it's unconstitutional.
This extreme Texas law blatantly violates the constitutional right established under Roe v. Wade and upheld as precedent for nearly half a century. It will significantly impair women's access to the health care they need, particularly for communities of color and individuals with low incomes. It also deputizes private citizens to bring lawsuits against anyone who they believe has helped another person get an abortion.
Pro-life experts estimate this will prevent 150 babies a day from being aborted.
Quigley also pointed out that all three justices appointed by President Donald Trump voted to allow the Texas law to take effect and says they could play a crucial role in possibly overturning Roe versus Wade in the years to come.
Abby, tell us about the next big pro-life ruling facing the Supreme Court.
Well, that Dobbs versus Jackson case that Mallory mentioned is the next big one. There will be arguments in the fall, and the decision on that will likely come at the beginning of next summer. And a lot of these nationwide abortion cases are looking at how the justices rule in this case. And as Mallory says, it has the potential to give more power to the states to enact these abortion laws that would constitutionally hold and not be able to face legal challenges.
And Abigail, as we mentioned at the top of the show, it looks like there's going to be congressional movement on this as well. Can you tell us more about that?
So as Speaker Pelosi said today that she will bring a vote bring a bill to the House floor for a vote that would give nationwide abortion legal rights nationwide, and that it would basically make it so that these states cannot enact their own abortion laws like Texas and like Mississippi. Now, this bill will likely pass the House, but in a 50-50 divided Senate, it is most certainly doomed to fail there. John, Jenna?
All right, Abigail Robertson, thank you very much. And joining us now is Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton. Sir, thank you so much for coming on the show this evening. It's great to have you. So Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor was passionate in her dissent, calling the Texas law flagrantly unconstitutional and a Supreme Court decision stunning. Were you surprised by the court's decision yourself?
You know, you never know what the court's going to do. So I wouldn't say I was surprised. I think they got it right. States have always had the right to regular abortion until Roe v. Wade, which was stripped from the states with no precedent and absolutely no constitutional basis. And so the court has struggled with abortion ever since, changing the standards on a constant basis. The states are always in flux as to what the law is because it's not in statute anymore. It's controlled by the Supreme Court. And they had, with different justices, they come up with different theories. And so the law has really been unsettled ever since they took it over. And it needs to go back to the states, for the states to make decisions about what's best for their people, not dictated by Congress or by the Supreme Court.
General Paxton, Chief Justice John Roberts in his dissent said that the Texas order is unprecedented in that it allows the state to avoid responsibility for its own law. Critics agree, saying abortion advocates are unable to sue the state. Are they right? And if so, what's the proper legal recourse?
Well, so it's actually putting the power in the hands of the people. This allows individual causes of action, which, we have individual causes of action on all kinds of different issues, and people deserve to have access to the courts. And this is an access to the courts for the issue of abortion if there is a cause of action under this law that is violated, which is the 6 weeks or the heartbeat. And I think it's perfectly appropriate for individuals to have that ability to address a wrong.
You know, on the surface, many in the pro-life community see this as a big victory, but some are actually saying it's a setback for the pro-life movement because of the bad press it's creating. It also fires up the pro-abortion side, among other things. What do you think about that? Is this the best model for the pro-life movement moving forward?
You know, I actually thought it was a very well-crafted bill. It allows the control back to people in our state to make decisions about what they think is right, what they think is wrong. And certainly, if you have any type of restriction on killing the unborn or aborting these babies, people find that controversial. So I don't know how you make any changes in law for the protection of the unborn without offending people who would like to end those lives.
Do you see that point, though? Do you think this could backfire on the pro-life movement, on Republicans? Say in the 2022 midterms or in 2024, it does fire up the other side.
Absolutely. Anything that's done by any state that is effective and that works is going to fire up the other side to come back and try to stop it. They don't want this ability of states to make their own decisions, which is the way it should be, and they don't want the ability of our state to be able to have reasonable restrictions on abortion, which is what this is.
Abortion providers have said the legal and financial risks presented by SB 8 have made it unsustainable for them to continue functioning, rendering abortion effectively, as some say, done with in Texas. General Paxton, should the Texas law prevail, what does that mean for the future of Roe v. Wade? Is this the route pro-life advocates will use to overturn that decision?
Well, this isn't the only route. I mean, certainly the people that care about the unborn there's laws in Mississippi that we're taking to this that's going to be argued in front of the Supreme Court that makes it a 15-week ban, which you mentioned earlier in your show, and that one is a direct assault on Roe v. Wade. So it will give the court an opportunity. My state wrote the amicus brief along with 23 other states. So there's 25 states that are finally saying, look, enough is enough. It should be a state decision. The court, has tried to control this since 1972 and hasn't done a particularly good job with this issue. It's constantly changing. The states never know what they have here, and it leaves the law uncertain depending on which next justice gets appointed.
Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, we appreciate you being with us on this very big day where Texas is making a lot of news. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Meanwhile, tragedy in the Northeast where more than 24 people have died because of historic rains tied to Hurricane Ida.
This as first responders continue rescue operations, all while trying to contain the floodwaters. CBN's Brody Carter has been following the path of destruction. Brody, both New York and New Jersey issuing states of emergency.
John, Jenny, yes, they have, and unfortunately the death toll appears to be rising as fast as the floodwaters. Many rivers in the region seeing their highest flood designations ever. Record-breaking rain leading to the first ever flood emergency warning for New York City, where streets and subway tunnels became rushing rivers. Many of those that died helplessly stranded in their cars and flooded basement apartments. 3 to 5 inches of rain fell in just 1 hour at Central Park. Some of the hardest hit areas in New Jersey and New York State seeing more than 8 inches.
Look at that tornado!
Cyclones caught on camera near this turnpike in Bristol, Pennsylvania. Another here in Mullica Hill, New Jersey, left nearly a dozen homes in shambles. Floodwaters not seen in a century have crippled Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, and water levels are expected to rise. Rescue still underway as crews search flooded streets and homes across the ravaged Northeast. Its recent path of destruction extends from the Appalachian Mountains all the way to Massachusetts.
The 5th largest hurricane in our history. Record rain fell in these states. New York recorded more rain yesterday, the first day of September, than it usually sees the entire month.
In the South, cleanup and power crews enduring the heat as they've restored electricity to a small sliver of New Orleans. Almost 1 million Louisiana residents remain in the dark, nearly 1 million more across the storm's path. And now a new problem.
There's nothing open and all the way through Baton Rouge, and we were lucky to find this.
In addition to no power, sweltering southern heat, and little to no water. Gas stations in the South running on empty.
Trees down everywhere,
roofs
flooding.
off houses, off gas stations.
Completely horrible.
In addition to Operation Blessing doing amazing things down south, 6,000 National Guard members have been dispatched. 50 shelters are open across the Gulf Coast. 250,000 linemen from more than 30 different states are working to restore power. President Biden plans on touring New Orleans damage tomorrow. John, Jenna.
An all-hands-on-deck effort. Thank you, Brody. Coming up, why the non-government evacuation mission in Afghanistan is being compared to the Underground Railroad. We explain when Faith Nation returns.
Introducing the CBN Bible from CBN.com. Now, an easier way to study the Bible and grow in your faith. Highlight your favorite verse. Read separate versions at a glance. Click and read a commentary. Or cross-reference your favorite verse using the Strong's Concordance. All the right tools to study the Bible, all in one place. The CBN Bible, available at cbn.com/Bible or the iTunes App Store.
This is CBN News Watch.
Thanks for joining us.
Watch breaking news, exclusive stories and programs, credible news reporting.
We show you what's happening in the world and how you can pray about it.
This is CBN News Watch, because truth matters. Weekdays at 5 on the CBN News Channel.
Superbook fans, here's something else you'll love. It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! Whoa!
Millsburg Falls man, come.
Sorry, pardon me. Sorry, excuse me. Ouch!
Are you getting this?
Earn super points to win daily prizes too, and so much more. Time to get back to my adventures. See you soon. It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
Deliberate interference. That's what one ministry says it experienced from our own government as it worked to evacuate people from Afghanistan.
In spite of the roadblocks, private evacuation efforts have helped thousands escape, and they're not done yet.
National security correspondent Caitlin Burke has more on what's now considered Afghanistan's version of the Underground Railroad. Caitlin.
The State Department says the mission in Afghanistan is complete, the focus now shifting to diplomacy. But for the hundreds of American citizens and thousands of Afghan allies still trying to get out of the country, the war isn't over.
People are dying right now, and many more will die because they can't get out of there. They're trapped.
President Biden touted the U.S. evacuation effort as the largest of its kind. While that may be true, thousands who should have gotten out were turned away. Representative Michael McCall worked for days to evacuate 250 Christian orphans in an Afghan girls' choir.
They had visas. They had a private plane waiting for them. The Taliban actually let them through. And then our own United States government turned them away after sitting there for a day, back to the Taliban.
Joel Richardson with Global Catalytic Ministries says their rescue efforts faced what felt like deliberate interference each step of the way from the State Department.
Even to the point where Albania had cleared a plane of refugees and they were in the air, and the State Department refused to let them land. They actually had to turn around and go back. So what you're hearing in the news in terms of this great evacuation versus what we were seeing on the ground, it was night and day.
The bureaucratic holdups and other roadblocks caused by official evacuation channels forced lawmakers like McCall to take matters into their own hands.
Almost running like a parallel government operation to go in and save lives because our own government was not doing an adequate job.
Private operations also bypassing the U.S. government. One of the most successful, known as the Commercial Task Force, was made up of thousands of volunteers. It originally formed to rescue a small group of children. It eventually evacuated more than 5,000 Afghans.
We really tried to target the people that we thought were the highest risk. For anything that, by the Taliban's declaration would be considered a target.
Another well-known operation, Pineapple Express, involved current and former U.S. special operators, aid workers, and intelligence officers. So far, they've brought more than 1,000 people to safety, and their effort is ongoing. Team members saying measures are in place to continue facilitating evacuations. Global Catalytic Ministries will also continue their rescue efforts.
We're essentially establishing an underground railroad. It's a matter of finding a network of safe locations, getting them places where they can sort of lay low in the interim. Little by little, we've run over 50 operations so far.
While much of the ministry's effort is focused on helping people escape, Richardson says about 30% of the Christians in their underground church network actually want to stay.
In fact, we have some of our leaders that were out of the country when the Taliban takeover took place, and they actually have gone back into the country because they're so zealous to see the church continue to expand, to see disciples made.
Here in Washington, Representative McCall, who's the ranking member of the House Committee on Foreign Affairs, says he'll be leading an oversight effort to get to the bottom of what happened in Afghanistan and how our withdrawal went so wrong.
All right, thank you, Caitlin. And when we come back, the results of this week's new jobs report and a sneak peek into tomorrow's unemployment numbers.
When I came to Regent University, it's like the world opened up. I felt like I needed to advance my career and go back to school. Regent was a perfect fit for me. The Regent professors are world class. You are equipped. The focus of the faculty is on each individual student, whether it's online or in person. You become a part of Regent's family. You carry with you not just the content and the knowledge, but the confidence to understand that we can be significant in the world.
Regent University. Follow your path.
Nigerian Christians
in Iran are routinely arrested.
Happily, Christians continue to suffer.
In times of trial and affliction, you need to know the truth.
One of the fastest growing Christian populations in the world.
Join Wendy Griffith and George Thomas for Christian World News.
Young people are the ones who are open to the gospel.
Powerful stories of suffering and hope that affect all Christians. Saturday night at 6 on the CBN News Channel. Get Protect Your Sleep and discover how to improve the quality of your life. A free DVD or booklet from the Christian Broadcasting Network.
If you're not a great sleeper, you can do things to make yourself a great sleeper. If you're already a pretty good sleeper, you can enhance your sleep and be even better.
5 leading experts help remove the obstacles between you and restorative sleep.
When you don't get a restful night's sleep, you wake up with an accumulation of stress.
Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com to get your free DVD or booklet today.
Everything you do better with a good night's sleep.
You'll discover how food affects your sleep, how to put insomnia to rest, explore effective remedies for sleep apnea, and much more in Protect Your Sleep. Wake up to your best life and get Protect Your Sleep today. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com to get your free DVD or booklet.
The White House COVID-19 response team pitching once again the need for booster shots. Today, Dr. Anthony Fauci citing a new Israeli study showing a dramatic 84% reduction in risk of infection 2 weeks after people there got the boosters.
There's no doubt from the dramatic data from the Israeli study that the boosts that are being now done there and contemplated here support very strongly the rationale for such an approach based on the very favorable data associated with boost.
Dr. Fauci pointed out a booster shot would be subject to FDA approval. Meanwhile, the number of people fully vaccinated in the U.S. hit a new high, 175 million. That's up 10 million from just 1 month ago.
Tonight, jobless claims are at an all-time pandemic low. The Labor Department's report from last week shows weekly unemployment claims now at 340,000. That's down by about 14,000 claims. With just a few blips along the way, the weekly downward curve has fallen steadily since topping 900,000 in early January. Tomorrow, the Labor Department will release its August jobs report, with the president set to give remarks on the state of the economy.
And joining us now is CBN News chief political analyst David Brody. David, let's start there. Tomorrow, the president will give these remarks on the upcoming monthly jobs report. Is he going to use this as leverage to rally more spending bills?
Oh, there's no doubt about it. He will spin it no matter what it is, and it's expected to be solid. It's expected to be some solid numbers, and that's why it's already on the docket for him to give remarks about it. Trust me, if it wasn't solid numbers, he would not be giving remarks about it. So you can be sure about that. So, yeah, it'll all be geared around that $3.5 trillion budget reconciliation bill we've heard so much about. That's AKA social infrastructure. Same thing. That's what he'll tie it to. And that's what the game plan has been all along for Democrats.
David, today Senator Joe Manchin said he wants to hit the pause on the president's $3.5 trillion infrastructure plan. He is, of course, seen as critical for Democrats passing their agenda. The West Virginia senator pointing to what he calls runaway inflation and national security uncertainties as reasons to slow things down. David, how much is this a thorn in the side for Democrats?
Well, John, it's more than a thorn in the side. This is a big deal. The question is, how big of a deal is it? And let me kind of go through it. I'll try to do 30 seconds or less on this. It's a big deal if he votes no on $3.5 trillion, obviously. That's been the number all along. Democrats want $3.5 trillion, and many people have said it will be actually higher once it's all said and done. So the question for Manchin is, what will he vote for? $2 trillion, $1.5 trillion, $1 trillion? We don't know. And I think that's the big question. So Manchin's a no, a pretty hard no on $3.5 trillion. We just don't know what his number is. We also don't know what Kirsten Sinema's number is. So this doesn't mean that Democrats are done kaput on that $3.5 trillion. It just means that they're might have to go back to the drawing board and get creative, and that $3.5 trillion will be a whole lot less.
Yes, Senator Manchin, telling reporters that he would have to go back to his constituents and be able to explain that $3.5 trillion and why it's necessary, saying right now he can't do that. David, we want to talk to you about this Texas abortion law. Some see it as an actual setback for the pro-life community because, among other things, it fires up the other side, the pro-abortion side. It creates bad press and stories coming out of Texas. David, what's your take on all of this, and do you think this is an issue that will fire up both sides in the 2022 midterms?
There's no doubt that it's going to fire up both sides. And look, here's the problem for Republicans, and I think you're right, Jenna. I think you're onto something here. Republicans have this all teed up to win in 2022. The House is theirs for the taking. They would have to really blow it to lose the House in 2022. I mean, it's going to be tough to lose it, but they could lose it. But they should win it. But with this Texas law, that's going to, for sure, gin up the base on the Democrat side, the progressive side. And so this is the wild card, and this is what we watch now. And don't forget, we have Dobbs versus Jackson's Health, a Mississippi case that's coming down and be argued in the fall, I believe, next year. So the bottom line is you've got a lot going on here as it relates to abortion. So, yeah, there's all of a sudden a new wild card in the race for the midterm elections, and it could benefit Democrats for sure.
Yeah. All right. We will see. David Brody, thank you very much.
Thanks, David.
You bet.
Well, still ahead, some are calling this a welcome surprise during a TV weather forecast, the perfect storm. See why it's bringing smiles to faces.
Christians around the world are standing with the Israelis. But why? In CBN's free magazine, Friends of Israel, you'll discover why Christians are supporting the Jewish state, how Israel is fulfilling prophecy as a light to the nations, and ways you can pray for the people of Israel. Israel needs the support of friends like you. Call now or go to cbn.com to get your free copy of Friends of Israel.
Heavenly Father, we do thank you for the work of your Spirit, Lord God, with this movement of getting the Bible,
yes,
Lord, into public schools.
Watch The Prayer Link. Tuesday morning at 7:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Finally tonight, it's been a tough week of weather for so many people. And John, I think we could all use a little good news in that department.
For sure. Viewers of the Canadian news outlet Global Toronto received just that when a TV anchor's dog, fittingly named Storm, wandered onto the set. Take a look.
Here's your forecast as we go through the day tomorrow. Yes, Storm is in the building, getting some treats, walking on thin air.
Storm's search for treats did not stop the report. It actually went on without a hitch. Viewers agreed this adorable Storm was a welcome distraction and should make more appearances often.
Oh, Storm is cute. All right, we'll leave it on that note.